Welcome to Haunt Weekly.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jonathan.
I'm Crystal.
And this is Haunt Weekly, a weekly podcast for the attraction and entertainment industry. Whether an owner or just plain aficionado, we aim to be a podcast for you. And we return to you this week, without missing a week.
Yeah.
We're still trying to nail down the exact day that's best, but that's going to be an ongoing fight until shit goes down at your job.
Yeah.
We are indeed back this week to talk about, one half of our usual doubleheader we do sometime around this time of year about why the 2025 season is looking rough and why it might be looking good. Reasons to be pessimistic and reasons to be optimistic. And since this is the first half, we're starting with the bad news. And unfortunately, as we're about to get into, there's a lot of it.
Yeah, this one was much easier to write. Like next week for the optimist side, I don't know what I'm going to put in.
Yeah, we've had some.
There's not a lot.
We've had some conversations. There are a couple of things, and we're actually going to graze a couple of them as we're going through these concerns. But yeah, this was not a difficult list. In fact, we had to cut and merge things to kind of make this work as an episode and keep it to just 7 topics. So yeah. Anyway, understand if that's not the episode for you. If it isn't, guess what? There's 484 other episodes. You can find them at hauntweekly.com. We're Haunt Weekly on Facebook. We're at youtube.com/hauntweekly. And you can also check us out wherever you get your podcast from. Doing this for way too long. So please feel free to find an episode that fits your mood, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
On housekeeping stuff, as I mentioned at the very top of the show, we're still trying to nail down the best day of the week to target for new episodes. I'm trying to work with your new job and just sort of the realities of life right now. And we're still trying to nail that down, obviously. We're putting this one out on a Wednesday. But Tuesday or Wednesday is looking like the best days.
Yeah.
That gives us an opportunity to get this episode written, edited, and all that stuff.
And out, and it gives us time on the weekend to actually relax.
Yeah.
Because that's why we can't do it on Sundays.
Yeah, the weekend has kind of become consumed, and we'll be talking more about that in just a bit, like right about now, because work we did for the haunt, we just got some partially good news.
Yeah.
One of the things on the sword of Damocles has been hanging over us has been our home insurance information. Those familiar with the housing insurance climate in New Orleans broadly, or I would say anywhere on Gulf Coast broadly.
Anywhere that has,
natural disasters.
Natural disasters, because California is also facing this.
But we, years ago, lost our commercial provider.
Yes.
And we were moved to the state insurance plan, which is never ideal, but sometimes is necessary. And we've been on them for a bunch of years. Well, we are getting ready to transition back to a commercial provider. Not our choice. This is like how the system works. If someone comes along and says they'll do it, and they charge less than the state plan does, then they have to be moved. We have to move to it.
Yeah.
It's kind of just how it works. And so we're going to be moving sometime in June, and it looks like everything's good, pretty much. We have to do some maintenance stuff that we were planning on doing anyway.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to escalate those efforts. But we have 2 months to finish everything. It's a perfectly reasonable time frame. I'm not too worried about getting all this done, even with how busy things have been. So we do have good news. Right now, knock on wood, it looks like our homeowner situation is good.
Yeah, but, I'm still worried because they're going to do an actual on-site inspection that hasn't been done in years, and it just...
Well, with homeowners inspections, it's typically just to make sure the property exists and isn't already decrepit and falling down.
Yeah, well, I don't know. For some reason, that's what my brain is stuck on right now.
Yeah,
it's in worry mode.
My brain was stuck on this when we got the inspection from the state provider, too.
Yeah.
We had the same issue. So I don't think this is going to be as serious as anyone thinks. But hopefully this is a knock-on-wood situation. We're on the path to getting that settled on a more permanent basis for us.
Yeah.
So that's good. That's good news for our haunt. That's good news for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, on that note, everyone, every week we try to ask a question a week. Last week we asked, well, kind of the theme of the next couple of weeks. How optimistic are you about the 2025 haunt season?
And James Munzel said, I'm an optimistic pessimist. I understand that completely.
Totally. You're hitting home, man.
Yeah.
Hitting home.
Hope for the best, but plan for the worst, or at least the not so good. Hoping attractions aren't cutting back on staff this year since I'm currently in the market for a new haunt home. The one that he's been out closed.
The one he has been at for the past few years is just closed.
Yeah.
Basically, yeah.
Which is sad.
That is sad, and as we're going to discuss, I don't think that's a very uncommon experience.
Mm-hmm.
Tim Fowler, I'm really curious to see how the tariffs affect prices at big box stores. The price of lumber will definitely impact plans. Right now, it seems like the tariffs on Mexico and Canada being the important one for lumber, are not that bad. But as we're going to discuss in approximately 2 minutes from now, basically, that is not I don't know. That could have changed between the last time I had a browser tab open and now. Literally.
No. And finally, for this week, Fairless Savage said, send positive vibrations.
Basically, a GIF of positive vibrations.
Yeah.
So, I admire the effort, but I am finding it much more difficult to be upbeat this year, as we discussed.
I think I probably listened to too many political heads.
Well,
political podcasts and things. Like, I want to keep up, but at the same time, it does make me sad.
And it's kind of weird. Like, we talked about on here and elsewhere about how, like, recently, like, we used to be huge fans of John Oliver's show.
Yeah.
And I still do like John Oliver and the show. But there was, like, a lengthy period of time there, especially during COVID and so forth, we didn't watch it.
Yeah.
It just got too depressing. And even in that time, it wasn't even necessarily political.
No.
It was just everything's falling the fuck apart. I don't need my anxiety drip to me with comedy. It just doesn't.
Yeah.
So yeah, I get that completely. We're all right now kind of torn between our desire to be informed and our desire to remain sane.
Yeah, well, and like I think I'm up to 5 podcasts a week now, and there are people that I would listen to no matter what they were talking about, and usually, well, before January, it was not always about politics, and now it is.
Yeah, I mean, anyway, so
kind of like us right now.
Yeah, and it's kind of easy to, like, we've done this pair of episodes. We've done this, I think, every year for like the last 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
Because this always comes up in May when we're looking ahead to the next May or June. We're looking at the next year. But usually it's not a political thing.
Yeah.
This time around it feels way more political than usual.
It does.
Because a lot of the things that could really impact this industry are, check notes, political.
Yeah.
And, but anyways, this week's question of the week is, are you making any adjustments to your haunt plans this year with everything going on? It could be the stuff we're talking about below or the stuff we're talking about in the good episode coming up. The as of now unwritten and unreleased episode.
Yes, it may only have one thing on it. We don't know.
Class is out early. Goodbye.
Exactly.
No. But yeah, are you making any adjustments to your plans this year? Let us know. HauntWeekly.com, HauntWeekly on Facebook and YouTube.com/HauntWeekly. Send us an email, post a comment, or watch the Facebook page and answer the question of the week there. All right. So, as I've said now like 8,000 times in the past 9-ish minutes, we do these 2 episodes pretty much every year. And it's why are we excited about this upcoming season, and why are we concerned? And I'll say this: we do it in the same order every year. We always do it because even with the news episodes, we like to get the heavier shit out of the way as quickly as we can, so that way we can end on something fun, something happy, something silly, and we can leave the room happy, and hopefully you can end the episode happy. That's the goal. We want everybody to be as happy as we can make it. So obviously we're going to do the heavier one first, and then the more beat one next. But this has been a year where I think it's been much harder to come up with ways to look forward to 2025. And yeah, and this one, like we said, was almost too easy to write the outline for. It felt like cheating.
Yeah.
Okay, so reason one, let's get it off the top, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tariffs. I was originally, when I was outlining this in my head, going to fold this into the economy and just have one long topic here. Spoiler for the next topic.
Yeah.
Sorry. But yeah, unfolded in as one large topic, but I realized this is actually a completely separate issue in its own way.
Yeah.
Connected, but separate.
Yeah, they interact with each other, but yeah, it's not the same thing. So,
as of when these notes were written and these words were spoken into a microphone, which is the evening of May 7th, 2025, the tariff against China is still, and has been for about a month now, a little bit over a month now, 145%, which is just a gobsmacking number. However, we cannot predict where this will be when October rolls around. We are still functionally half a year from Halloween.
we can't predict what it'll be tomorrow, much less.
Yeah, I probably should have said the exact time I'm reading this into the microphone. 8:20-ish p.m. Central Time. Daylight savings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's no way to know what this is going to be.
No, and where this is going to go. But here's the bad news. We don't really have to.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, your major big box retailers are putting in their orders not just for Halloween, but for Christmas.
Yeah.
So your Home Depots, your Lowe's, your Spirits, and furthermore your Walmarts, your Targets, Sam's Clubs, whatever, they are putting in their orders. Now, we talked about this in one of the recent news episodes.
Yeah.
And then some of them have tried to delay orders and hoping to either find a way to circumvent the tariffs, which we're seeing some are trying to do now, like Temu said they're doing. This big complicated thing to try to quote-unquote circumvent. I don't know how that's going to go.
Yeah, I don't see it working well.
I mean, they said they're going to do something about domestic distribution. I don't know. I'm not an expert on tariffs, but I'm kind of dubious on the idea. But basically, if you're one of these big box retailers, you're putting in your order for fall and winter stuff nowish. And you don't have a lot of time to wait.
No, and you're trying basically to future-proof yourself.
Yeah.
In a future that is very uncertain.
Yeah. 100%. And it's a major frustration. But what it basically means is that Halloween is very likely going to get a lot more expensive people very suddenly this year. And Christmas too. I mean, and that's one thing I've been learning and reading all these articles about this, is that like Lowe's and Home Depot, they kind of bundle the two seasonal decoration things together.
Well, yeah, we always talk about how Christmas invades Halloween.
Yeah, and it turns out it's because they're making the orders and receiving the shit at about the same time.
Which makes sense.
It really does. And when you put it like
the stores don't really have space
to
store it.
No, modern retail warehouses don't have the back to keep things in, really. And you would know that from working at retail briefly recently.
Yes.
What was the back at Michael's like?
Nothing.
A
closet?
Yeah. The break room, maybe?
No, the break room wasn't in the back. It was basically the loading dock, and we staged everything, and then it went out on shelves. There was not stuff, like just stacks of stuff back there.
Yeah, like when I worked in a grocery store, the back was basically a 10-foot wide space that you went through from the loading dock to the floor.
Exactly.
As you were bringing stuff out, you could put a few things there, but you didn't really use it for storage much.
No.
The floor was the storage.
Yeah, I think that most of the back there was probably for the framing department.
That's not a shock, because that is something that's going to need a decent amount of storage, because you've got to keep all that different weird lumber and backings and things. ready for it. Whenever some wealthy customer who doesn't know anything about framing decides they want Michael's frame something.
Yeah.
Anyway, but the point of the matter is they put those orders in together. And so, yeah, it's going to get a lot more expensive. And they talked about how that kid's costume that was $20 last year could easily be $40 or $45.
Yeah.
It couldn't double the prices of a lot of the very common things. You want a new inflatable for your yard? Whatever you were paying last year, look at roughly doubling it. So, yeah, it's going to be rough. Halloween and Christmas are going to get a lot more expensive. Now, on one hand, this is kind of sort of maybe a little bit good news because tickets, like haunt attraction tickets, are not as impacted by this. You know, since an in-person event is not subject to tariffs.
Yeah.
We're not going to have this huge bump in cost, other than the cost we face having to buy stuff at these tariff prices.
Yeah, well, and a lot of haunts, at least the smaller haunts, do a lot of, buying of used goods. They're already gently loved.
Yeah, well, I mean, I know that when we do buy new stuff, we typically buy it in November.
Yeah.
So what that oddly could mean is that for us and other home haunts that do that, next year could be the problem year.
Yeah.
Especially since if people try to keep costs low in spite of tariffs, they might not be able to offer those juicy November 1st discounts that we often jump on.
Right.
So that might be something to think about. But yeah, tickets might look like a better deal compared to other Halloween-related things. But the fact of the matter is, people only have so much money they can spend on Halloween. Or any holiday for that matter.
Mm-hmm.
And if their kid wants a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle costume, because that's a thing again.
Yes, it is.
Then, yeah, that might mean that they don't go to the local haunted attraction.
Mm-hmm.
It's more important that their kid have the right costume when they go trick-or-treating Halloween night.
Yeah.
Their parents and families will be making decisions.
Well, and that kind of leads into the next part. Because...
Well, and the other thing that was part of the tariff thing is, since this is directly connected to inflation, haunt tickets have been outstripping inflation for at least a decade.
Yeah, we've been tracking it with the same set of haunts over the years, so we know what it looks like.
Yeah, haunts have been going up an average of like 15-20% every couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
Inflation had not been doing that until super recently. And so, yeah.
Yeah, and if you can afford one thing, is it going to be a haunt or is it going to be some other experience that that the whole family wants to do?
Yeah, are you going to go to a haunt that may be 15-20 minutes long, or are you going to go to a big party event?
Yeah, or an escape room that's an hour long, or a concert, or
really invest in trick-or-treating this year. Or maybe
try to give back.
Or maybe doing your own little porch haunt or something instead.
Yeah.
Especially if you've got a lot of good, stuff that you can use and, get handy with. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I don't know. It's going to be a difficult year. Halloween budgets are going to be stretched. And it doesn't really matter even if the tariffs went away tomorrow. Mm-mm. A lot of these decisions have probably been locked in.
Yeah.
So there's still a very, very realistic chance that Halloween is going to be very expensive this year, and that's going to hurt us. Mm-hmm. Reason 2.
The economy.
It's the economy, stupid!
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, basically, I looked it up. Okay, see if I can say this right. The Confidence Board's Consumer Confidence Index.
Conference Boards.
No, it's an autocorrect. But yeah, but basically, it hit a 5-year low in April. Consumer confidence hit a 5-year low in April.
Yeah.
And that is not good, because if you'll remember what was going on in April 5 years ago, there was a very strong reason consumer confidence was in the toilet.
5 years ago would be 2020.
Yeah. But here's the even more damning thing, which is this is the 5th month it has declined in a row. Because usually it goes up, it goes down, it goes up. You know what I mean? It has a lot of fluctuation. It has gone down 5 months in a row. That is the longest negative streak since 2008. And if you discount COVID, the last time consumer confidence was this low was April 2009. So, shit ain't good, dog.
Yeah. Well, and if consumer confidence is low, people aren't buying shit.
No. Yeah.
Because they don't know what their finances are going to look like in the near future.
In a month, in 3 months, or whatever.
Yeah.
And so they become more conservative about spending. And in this way, and the economy's kind of like a fairy. If everybody believes in it, the economy thrives. So if you clap your hands and say, I do believe in the economy, I do believe in the economy, it will do better. It will grow brighter and it will save Peter Pan. But
it was Tinkerbell. But
no, Tinkerbell saved Peter Pan. The economy is Tinkerbell in this case.
Okay.
And the economy would save Peter Pan.
Gotcha.
But no, that's not what's happening here. People are not clapping that.
No.
There is extremely low confidence, and when people are unsure, like you said, what happens in the next month or 6 months, they start looking for ways to save. They start looking for ways to hoard money and corners to cut. And guess what gets cut first, folks? Luxury of experiences.
Yeah.
And guess what's a luxury experience these days? Haunted houses.
Yep.
In a big, big, big way. So yeah, this uncertainty, and to be clear, this has nothing to do with how the actual economy is doing.
No, it just
is
is
zero to do with it.
It's how people feel that the economy is doing.
Yeah, it's completely perception. If the economy could be soaring with the eagles right now, it's not, but it could be soaring with the fucking eagles right now. But if consumer confidence were this low, it would still be the same problem.
Yeah.
Because that means people think the eagle's sick and gonna crash.
Yeah.
No, the issue is the consumers are spending less, they're less sure. And that is kind of a downward spiral moment, because once that trend becomes normalized, business just start making less money, they start laying off people, the realization of the economy going down becomes true, and you know.
Yeah, we basically go into an anxiety panic spiral as a whole.
As a whole damn country. Or a whole damned world in some cases.
Yeah.
So, yeah. People are not feeling confident right now, and that is not good.
Well, and this is something that they've been talking about a lot on the podcast that I listen to, is how before Trump and the tariffs, or we should say the second iteration, the American economy was the best in the world. It was the strongest.
Yeah.
Like, all metrics, everybody was like, wow, y'all are doing so great.
And we were the envy of the world in ways that Americans thought we were doing very bad. Like inflation, inflation was high, but when you go looking at like Australia or Germany or UK.
Yeah. Well, and there's this disconnect because we have, the people who are looking at our economy and saying, wow, your economy's great. And then the people who are lower income who aren't able to afford as much as they used to be able to afford.
Yeah, because inflation was still a problem.
Inflation was a problem. So you've got this disjunct, and that's kind of where we're at.
Well, it's kind of like, and I learned this recently, New Orleans, the city of New Orleans, where we live, has its lowest murder rate in like 15 years right now.
Yeah.
It's insane. Our murder rate is like tanked. Like, nobody's killing each other here. We're just letting nature do it for us now. We've decided to, we're going all in on thunderstorms, baby. But yeah, but nobody feels safe.
No, it definitely doesn't.
I go on like the local neighborhood groups, and you wouldn't know that.
No, not at all.
People don't feel safe, and that perception often matters way more than the reality. So even if this Trump economy ends up where everything works great and we're just, kick ass, America, fuck yeah, it doesn't matter if people don't believe it.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to people like our industry that are trying to sell a luxury experience.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to be selling Rolexes
at
the soup lines.
Yeah, there was a study done a long time ago that would be interesting to haunts. I've got to look it up, but it said that when people are one kind of unsure, they're more into vampires, and the other kind of unsure, they're more into zombies, and it's all political ideologies.
Oh yeah, zombies represent mass consumerism.
Yeah.
And vampires typically represent the ruling class and the draining of the life force of everyday
So go
people.
with vampires this year.
Yeah. There you go, folks.
If you're going to pick one of the two tropes.
I just imagine one listener out there going, zombie or vampire? Zombie or holding up their con, and they're like, go with vampire this year. Okay.
Mutton chops.
Goatee. If you understood that reference, let us know at hauntweekly.com, hauntweekly on Facebook and youtube.com/hauntweekly. Mutton chops or goatee? Mutton chops.
All right.
Oh my God.
Reason number 3.
Weather concerns.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. To be 100% clear, I put this one in the middle because it's kind of the weakest.
Yeah.
But according to the patterns, we are looking at a potentially very wet October/mid-autumn season in general,
Mm-hmm.
especially in the northeast of the U.S. and along the far west coast, California included. And the reason is we are sort of in between the El Nino and La Nina cycles. So we're getting like the rain from one and the rain from the other at the same time. So we're getting double teamed here by the brother and sister. And the problem with that is it does mean there's a likelihood for much bigger than that normal rainfall in certain regions of the country. Now Texas and our area is looking to be super dry. So we sitting in this room, at least according to this forecast, and knock on wood, probably have less to worry about. But the Northeast corridor, like Pennsylvania all the way through to Maine and all that, is looking to have a very wet time this autumn, as is Seattle right down the West Coast. So the two major population centers in this country. And the thing is, rain, it completely nukes outdoor haunts. For obvious reasons.
Yeah.
I mean,
Imagine that.
But it also tamps down indoor haunts too. Because how many times have we sat here one evening when we had planned to go to a bar or a concert or a restaurant or whatever,
Yeah.
and been like, but it's raining.
Yeah.
I don't feel like going out anymore. It's rainy. It's cold rain because it's October. Even though, according to the song, it's the cold November rain you really have to watch out for. But yeah, it actually makes people go out significantly less. And that can hurt haunt ticket sales anytime for any haunt, basically. So if you're an indoor haunt, this is still something to concern yourself with.
Yeah, I honestly think that if you're doing pre-sale tickets, now's the time probably to do that before everything tanks and while people are trying to make these decisions for their future.
Yeah, we've talked about my issues with like the far pre-sale tickets.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. If you're going to do it, now would be a great time to pop up. Now or maybe even like next month because we're in May, so maybe June.
A lot of times they come up in June, July for us.
But sometime soon, pop up with an incredible deal.
Yeah.
That makes taking that risk justifiable. Give like half off your normal ticket price if you pick, your date and time you're coming. Make it so that I can justify taking that risk. That I don't have the flu that day. That it's not downpouring that day. That I don't have a flat tire that day.
Please don't make people pick specific day and time.
Yeah, right off the bat, immediately. Yeah.
No.
But yeah. No. But I agree. You can get ahead of a lot of these concerns by selling tickets today.
Yeah.
Because, consumer confidence sucks. But one of the things that actually really does well when consumers have low confidence is sales and deals. Because those customers are, like I said, they're pinching their pennies, but they're looking for bargains.
Yeah.
And so, if you can give them what feels like a bargain, what gives them that dopamine, it's all about the dopamine, baby. Guess what? You probably will, you might be able to mitigate this some. Now, there is some good news on the weather front, I found out. This just came out, I think, yesterday or today. but the Atlantic and the Gulf of Mexico or America, I don't fucking want to play this game.
In the Gulf.
In the Gulf and in the Atlantic Ocean, ocean temperatures are lower than they were this time last year.
Yay.
That is good news. It means fewer and weaker hurricanes. Knock on all the goddamn wood I can fucking find. Because that would be great now as New Orleanians. We know to always take that with a super large pinch of salt.
Yeah, because usually, well, so, yeah, this actually is worrisome to me because every time they say, oh yeah, it's going to be it's
going to be a quiet season.
Yeah, it's quiet season. There's always fucking torrential downpours and like more storms.
Yeah,
because it seems to flip.
Well, and it's like, this is where I have to remind the court that 2005 not only was the year of Katrina and Rita for us, and the year of Wilma for Key West and South Florida, it was also one of the, I think, still the busiest hurricane season we've had. To remember, they ended up using Greek letters.
Yeah, they went through the alphabet.
Okay, you're now Alpha, Beta.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah, that list was thrown out the window.
That year initially was supposed to be a slower year or a medium-sized year.
Exactly, and I think that hearing that they're predicting fewer, weaker hurricanes, it just gives me PTSD.
Well, they had predicted more hurricanes because of the shit I just mentioned about El Nino and La Nina. Yeah. But now we've got the ocean temps giving us some potential good news. So who the fuck knows, man?
I'll have to ask my person at work.
Man, you want to feel like you can't predict anything, try the weather.
Yeah.
All right. Reason number 4, and this one is complicated.
Yeah.
But I think I am onto something here.
I think so, and I think I can add to it.
All right. The pushback against Halloween. Now, this has been in progress for a while. And in fact, when I went looking for news stories, current news stories about this happening, because I remembered we'd seen a few doing the news episodes, I was finding ones going back to 2018 and 2019. So it has not just been, since the pandemic. What's been happening is a lot of townships have been like, oh, we don't like Halloween. Our house won't celebrate Halloween. And so therefore these community events that would take place are either being closed or being rebranded as fall events and moving earlier or later than Halloween.
Right.
So
because they don't want to be associated
exactly
with it.
And so then came the pandemic. And a lot of those events were canceled temporarily. Many just never returned. And then, but the ones that did, it seemed like it was a return to normal. But now, we have religious conservatives in power. Not just on the national level, but often at the local level, too.
Yeah, and the local level is worrisome because they're not fans of Halloween.
No.
They see it as...
devil worship or paganism or or anti-Christian, whatever. And it doesn't help.
So there's going to be more Niwala celebrations.
And like I said,
because turning things around backwards never makes it evil, right?
Yeah, I mean, I always thought that's how you make things evil.
Well, if you actually read.
Yeah, but no, and it's... And it's not helped by the fact that Halloween events have always, or at least historically, been very good about inclusion.
Yeah.
Wanting to make sure, because like things like the Teal Bucket program, and things like that. So the history of being very inclusive, well, that's the I from DEI.
Yeah.
Literally. So that's not a popular thing right now. And so a lot of local grassroots pushback is taking place against Halloween. And getting community events canceled, rebranded, moved, changed drastically. I read about one where a church held a fundraiser held an annual fundraiser in their cemetery, where they would show like a kid-friendly scary movie, and everyone could come and watch like a drive-in movie type thing, and just hang out in the cemetery.
Okay.
They had to cancel it because people thought it was too sacrilegious and disrespectful of the dead. And personally, if I do end up with a gravestone and you're not doing this shit at my gravestone, why did you put me there?
Yeah. Well, the other thing is that I think that they probably felt it was more sacrilegious because it was a church doing it. Now, to me, it says, oh, that might be a cool church.
Yeah.
Because I I have a complicated history
Yeah.
with religion.
But basically, yeah, there's been a serious pushback against Halloween broadly and Halloween connected things. And
there's been ultra conservative Christians, raising more stink about stuff that they're against.
We've been very lucky. I think a lot of it is because we were in New Orleans.
Yeah.
We've never faced that kind of backlash.
No.
We faced other kinds of backlash, but not that kind.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, we haven't faced that much backlash at all, now that I think about it.
No.
They're very supportive.
Yeah.
So, but I could see us facing other kinds of backlash, but I don't really see that happening here. But man, and a lot of small towns and and to be clear, a lot of very large haunts are in small towns.
Yeah.
And our success as an industry, despite our efforts to make it more year-round, is still very much tied to Halloween.
Yeah, and if you haven't been building that relationship with your local community, it is too late.
Yeah. Start work on next year.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah. No, I mean, if you've been around for years and years, you've got to build that every year, because we've seen multiple haunts and reported on multiple haunts coming to loggerheads with their local community and getting shut down or eminent domained or whatever, because they don't want them there anymore.
Yeah, I mean, like we talked about the story last episode.
Exactly.
The haunt that was shut down by eminent domain because it wasn't the best business use of this very nice property. So now we're going to put a restaurant and an office building on it.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
Yeah.
Just fuck you guys. Not the haunt. Fuck the people that made the decisions. What I'm saying.
Exactly.
You play that in your council meeting next council meeting. Fuck you all. All right. Reason 5, and I triple check this.
Yeah.
There are no major horror film releases this year coming out. We always, as an industry, do better when a major horror film event happens that kind of sort of coincides with haunted attractions a little bit and gets people more in that horror mindset, especially considering some haunts are just going to outright commit trademark and copyright infringement and throw the goddamn Pennywise into their haunt, even though they probably fucking shouldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, we really, because we've talked about this before. This is how small of an industry we are. A single blockbuster release, Hollywood film release, will generate more revenue than the entire haunted attraction industry. So, yeah, in this regard, when it comes to entertainment and cultural awareness, we're basically riding Hollywood's coattails a lot.
Yeah.
And some of us are doing it creatively as well. You know who you are. So, the point of the matter is there aren't any really great films this year that people are excited about. I Know What You Did Last Summer, the remake, I think that is.
Yeah, well, and this is part of, the problem with Hollywood right now is because there are issues in the industry.
Oh, yeah.
And the movie industry broadly. And most of it's is going to be, remakes and, jump offs, because I watched recently, someone talking about the death of the movie star, the concept of the movie star. Some people don't go and see their favorite stars anymore because the companies have decided that the IP is where all the money is, because they can just crank out more of that same IP over and over and over.
Yeah, rather than betting on a bankable actor that you have to pay more and more money to.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, but like I said, to illustrate the problem, here are some of the bigger horror releases coming up.
Yeah.
I Know What You Did Last Summer. It's coming out in mid-July. That's the remake of that. The Toxic Avenger, the remake of that, will be coming out late August-ish, which probably is about as realistically as early in the year as a well-timed film can.
Yeah.
I'm actually kind of interested in that.
Yeah, we will be going to see it. We have met Toxie.
Yes, we have. The Long Walk, a Stephen King adaptation, will be out mid-September. Saw 11. There's 11 of them.
Yeah.
Will be out around the same time. But basically, there's no big film. Like, remember, both It Part 1 and Part 2, how they were big cultural phenomena? Beetlejuice was everywhere for last year. No. Annabelle had a sequel out, I think, a few years ago that did gangbusters.
Yeah, I think I saw an advertisement that the Annabelle doll is touring the country. which is kind of adjacent to that.
Don't we have enough curses on us this year? You're like those fucking scientists finding extinct viruses in the fucking heart going, oh, let's thaw this shit out. No! You leave this shit where you found it. Bad. Bad son, I'm gonna hit you with a rolled up newspaper. I mean, but from a Hollywood perspective, the best hope we have is that one of these independent ones kind of goes gangbusters and pulls like a Blair Witch and just becomes a cultural phenomenon.
Yeah, well, and it's very possible because, like I was talking about, people are kind of tired of the same old shit being recycled. And
I know I am.
Yeah, something new and exciting and original would be awesome.
Yeah, and
which is why I think Haunt should invest in that also.
Yeah, and to give you an idea of how tired people are, I'm sitting in a room with 4 Stitch dolls.
Uh-huh.
4 Lilo and Stitch dolls in it, and we have at least 5 more downstairs, including the talking one.
That's probably the most surprising thing you've said on this podcast.
Did I own all these Stitch dolls?
Yeah, that we own a lot of Lilo and Stitch.
I love Lilo and Stitch.
Yeah, I know.
I love Lilo and Stitch to death. I do not want to go see this live-action bullshit remake. I am not interested.
No.
I'm going to sit my candy ass at home, and I'm going to watch the original again, then I'm going to watch the sequel, and then I'm watching the TV series again.
Mm-hmm.
The TV series was surprisingly banger.
It was fun. Yeah.
TV series was really good. But yeah, we don't have any major film releases. Maybe one of the new IPs will break loose, but that's up. Oh, there is also a new Aliens TV based on Aliens the movies.
Mm-hmm.
But let's all be honest. Aliens hasn't stirred much interest in a long, long time.
Yeah.
I think Aliens Colonial Marines might have been the death of that, and that was the video game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Number 6.
Mm-hmm.
Back to the economy.
Yeah.
In our own weird way.
Because we put these in random order. But yeah, there could be a reduction in workforce because it could be harder to find actors to work for you this year.
We're already seeing the high-profile firings of government employees.
Yeah.
Now, to date, right now, this goes back to the whole consumer confidence thing a little bit.
Yeah.
Job reports are actually good.
Mm-hmm.
There were fewer jobless claims than last week, or you know what I mean? Basically, we're not seeing skyrocketing unemployment yet. But if the other dominoes do fall, that is very likely to happen. And yeah, basically, sorry.
No, that's okay. Haunts don't offer competitive wages. Like, we can't.
Well, even if we can offer a competitive hourly rate, we can't offer like a competitive weekly salary.
Right, exactly. And we can't offer year-round work because we're not year-round businesses mostly.
Most haunts that have year-round employees will have like a couple of 100 seasonal ones and maybe like 4 or 5.
Yeah, that do all the builds and everything.
Yeah, and that's how it typically works. And so, yeah, we can't, be the full-time employment for the seasonal actors. And the problem is, and this was one of your points that you made when we were discussing it, was that if you are struggling to make ends meet and struggling to find work, haunts might go, well, come to us and make a little extra money. But the haunt actor will go, but actually your rates aren't that great. And I need to keep myself open for the real career work I might be still looking for.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the problem. We are, as you said, I'm taking your line, goddammit. This is complete plagiarism here, but by crediting you fully.
Or I could just say it.
Yeah, just say the line. Say the line, Carl.
Because we're not only a luxury product, we are a luxury workplace.
Yes. Yeah, we are people who can afford to work for haunts are in a fortunate position, typically.
Yeah.
That means they either don't need a job, and this is just nice extra income.
Yeah. Nice little fun thing to do.
And maybe make some beer money or some going out spending money, Because that's just it. Even if the rate is great, the hours will never be.
Right.
That's no one's making a full-time living off being a seasonal haunt actor.
No, there's no way to. The season's too short.
And final reason.
All these fucking executive orders.
Now,
and I'm not just talking about tariffs.
No. Though you could, and definitely go back and lump this with it, but no, this is a separate problem. because a lot of haunted attractions, especially non-profit haunted attractions, rely upon various breaks, duties, exemptions,
grants,
and
tax-free
exactly
status.
And they're all up in the air right now.
Yeah.
I mean, whether you would think they should be or not, the truth is everything's up in the air like this.
Mm-hmm.
One of the areas this could really hit hard is agribusiness.
Yeah.
Your corn mazes, your agro entertainment locations, because they get a lot of exemptions, a lot of grants, and a lot of help to do this. That's something that historically at least has been very strongly supported by the government at all levels. Mm-hmm. Well, now we don't know where all that shit's gonna be come October.
No.
We really and truly don't know. Are you a women-owned business? Are you gaining grants from that? That could go away.
Mm-hmm.
Are you getting tax breaks, benefits, etc. from that? It could be the last of that.
Yeah.
LGBTQ owned business, black owned business.
Yeah.
That could be gone too.
Yeah. Anything that could be considered DEI that doesn't help,
Yeah, and
rich white guys.
Yeah. Well, and that's kind of the thing. It's like DEI almost describes everybody the way it's used.
Exactly.
If you are not a wealthy white cisgender heterosexual male Christian,
yeah,
and not a military veteran, then you are a DEI hire.
Yeah. And even military vets a special status.
That's why I said not a military veteran.
Oh, okay.
Because
and
part of DEI is seeking out more military vets.
Yeah,
That's part of that initiative.
Yeah, and one of the worst jarring things, I guess. So my new job is working for an environmental government contractor. We do the studies for when things want to work,
Yeah.
Government decides they want to do a project here or build something. We've got to go and send scientists to see if there's anything that's going to become extinct by doing this. And it's a long process. And a lot of people are upset with the process. That's one of the other things I've been hearing is how long everything takes. But I think it's, a good thing. Anyway, I went to a conference, and one of the things that they were talking about is that for government contractors, for women-owned businesses, you had to be born with lady bits. Or else you're not considered a woman-owned business anymore by the government.
Yeah, but now even the whole idea of a woman-owned business could be seen as DEI and go away.
It could. Yeah, they're going to extend that. And there's supposedly this week, and it may have come out and I just missed it, any green business that is considered tax-free
or reduced tax or whatever.
Reduced tax is losing that status. They're no longer going to be considered that. They're just taking it away, which hurts business and industry.
Yeah. So, and a lot of haunts because especially nonprofit ones.
Yeah.
Part of their whole business model are these grants.
Yeah.
That for the entire time we've been doing Haunt Weekly, we never once had to question whether they'd be there in 6 months.
Right. The other thing is there's a big attack right now going on higher education and different types of higher education, specifically, grants for students to go who wouldn't be able to go to college otherwise.
Yeah.
And that means there's going to be less college kids available in your area to work for you.
And also to go.
Yeah.
To be attendees. As we have discussed many times, the typical audience for a haunted attraction is young people, typically late teens to maybe late 20s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the core audience, and one of the reasons they've been the core audience is because they often have a lot of free time.
Yeah.
Because they're in school, or they're taking jobs that they don't necessarily have to earn all their living from right now.
Right.
Guess what? their situation could change drastically over the next 6 months.
Yeah.
And that could have a direct impact on your demographics of your haunt, both your employees and your customers.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's 7 reasons that we're kind of looking at this year side-eyed.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's rough. And like I said, we've done this exact episode multiple years now.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think it ever felt political in any way.
No.
But the problem is, a lot of these dangers are coming directly from the current administration.
Yeah, exactly.
And honestly, we didn't feel this way with the first Trump term.
No.
We weren't asking these same questions in 2016, 2017.
No, this is a different
This
beast.
is this time around entirely.
Yeah.
As someone whose day job is very dependent upon businesses having to spend expendable income.
Yeah.
I'm worried what the fuck's going to go with me.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never had that concern before.
Yeah, and there's a lot of worry in my industry, but knock on all of the wood again. So far, we are still getting contracts that are multi-year, which is good.
Yeah.
So
yeah, so here's hoping that none of these come to pass, and 2025 is an amazing season. And next episode, we're going to talk about reasons for optimism. And what that means is, between now and when one of us sits down to write the show notes, we need to actually come up with a list of reasons to be optimistic.
Yeah.
And that's not going to be easy.
No. I can only think of one thing right now.
I can think of a couple, but yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway. Well, on that note, everyone, thank you very much for spending the past 50 so minutes with us. Greatly appreciated. Please check out more Haunt Weekly. We're at hauntweekly.com, Haunt Weekly on Facebook, youtube.com/hauntweekly, and wherever you get your podcast from. Until next time, I'm Jonathan.
I'm Crystal.
And we will see you all next week.